it all behind you. I said, take down everything that stands in your way. Don't stop believing it'll work out again, my friend. Stand out and be a part of everything good. Wake up, you're gonna be all that you should. Try out all the things you always wanted to be. You'll see, 'cause I know what I know, that you've got it in you, and I see that you are a winner.
Hi there! I'm doing something different today. I'm going to be making into a video the comments by somebody on my page who has posted some very long, informative comments that I thought were really pretty awesome, and I wanted to share. The author's name is Judy Weismonger. W-E-I-S-M-O-N-G-E-R. She has a lot to say under the video that I put up, 10 Beautiful Lies About Jesus, mirror of a video featuring David Fitzgerald's work. And so she wrote me some comments, and I asked for her permission to share her comments via video, and she has given me the go-ahead. I just want to say for the record, this is kind of like me having a guest speaker on my channel. Although she's not speaking, I am just reading what she wrote. I just wanted to say, just for the record, I don't completely agree with a lot of what she has to say. I've kind of sort of read a little bit about the whole Caesar Jesus or whatever, that Jesus was a Roman invention, or that the Bible was written by Flavius Josephus. I don't believe that. Just side note, I don't believe that. The Gospels were written by completely anonymous writers. Nobody knows who wrote them. So I don't agree that Josephus wrote the Gospels, although I do think that from what I've read, he influenced what was put into the Gospels. Some of his writing influenced. But anyway, so I don't agree with a lot of what she's saying, but I also think she has a lot of interesting information here and a lot of interesting things to say, and I wanted to share that. So, without further ado, here is the words of, I gotta get back to it, I lost her name already, Weismonger, Judy Weismonger. She writes in caps, "The liars for Jesus," and then continues in normal, "are getting really tiresome. And it's because they are told they are forgiven in advance because some crazy man, if he existed at all, committed suicide. The entire Bible is also a forgery and a fraud, written by the Roman Flavians to pacify the Jews and stop them from rebelling against Rome. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Jews were expecting a warrior Jesus to lead them in a successful war against the Romans. However, the wealthy Roman Flavians, in line to become future Caesars, created a wimpy Jesus. The Flavians' gospel forgeries told the Jews to turn the other cheek, respect the divine rights of kings, don't rebel against Rome, slaves, obey your masters, and render unto Caesar's that which is Caesar's, which was everything, including one's life, as Caesar was a god. And pay your taxes, in parentheses, Paul's own words, repeated 3 times in the Gospels. Again, all of these commandments from God are stated in the Bible. Very few Christians know what is in the Bible. And now that Joseph Atwell, in his book Caesar's Messiah explores how, why, when, and by who the gospel forgeries were written by Flavian Josephus in parentheses. The entire Christian myth and the Flavian gospel forgeries can be further explored on youtube.com. And the link is https://www.youtube.com/user/Caesar's Messiah. Atwill's research backs up the archaeological findings that there is not one single original keyword, artifact, document, clay tablet, papyrus, piece of broken pottery, wall painting, statues of any kind to document that anyone ever heard of Jesus or Christianity in the 1st or 2nd century AD, except the Roman Flavians, who were in the process of writing the gospel forgeries. Christians claim there are some papyrus scraps from the 2nd century, but the owners will not allow any kind of authentication method to be used, such as carbon-14 dating, to prove they are real and not forgeries. There are no Christian artifacts until the 3rd century AD. None. Yet the Babylonians, Assyrians, Egyptians, and Sumerians left millions of artifacts to prove they existed. There are even primitive cave drawings going back to 35,000 years, but not one shred of any kind of a Christian artifact until 250 AD. This absolutely proves Christianity is a forgery and fraud. The facts are that none of the characters in the Bible, not Jesus, Mary, Joseph, the apostles, Moses, Solomon, David, etc., and the show's cast of characters ever existed. Although Christians love to dramatize, preach, and create slick YouTube.com videos of Bible stories, again, the facts are that not one single piece of documented evidence exists to prove their existence. Christianity is one of the greatest frauds, with Islam second. I think Mormonism is up there pretty good, pretty high too, to ever be foisted on naive human beings. There is a reason why 95% of the 30,000 member PhDs of the U.S. National Academy of Science are atheists. I like that sentence. I'll read it again. There is a reason why 95% of the 30,000 member PhDs of the U.S. National Academy of Science are atheists, because there is no proof of any of Christianity's claims. The two greatest words that Christians fear is "prove it." Christians often trot out their own PhDs, but a look into their backgrounds reveal unqualified and untrained PhDs making comments out of their field in an area of which they are not trained. This is like your plumber doing brain surgery and someone graduating from a Bible college claiming he or she has a PhD is not the same as graduating from MIT or Harvard or any other accepted academic university that has standards. Bible colleges have one agenda: the proliferation of the Jesus swindle. And the war on democracy is by Christianity. There is not one single word in the Bible about democracy or for democracy. The Bible is about human slavery, divine babysitters, and masters. Christianity, or Christian prophecy, is a joke simply because when creating the Christian gospel forgeries, the writer, Flavian Josephus, took the Old Testament and created the New Testament and wrote it as if Jesus was fulfilling the prophecies. This is like cheating on a test because you were given the answers to the test before you took the test. And furthermore, in all the scare tactics used by Christianity to make people afraid of not believing are not working. Fully 1 in 4 people in the U.S. are now atheists, non-believers, or skeptics, and the percentage is increasing each year. The internet is where religion goes to die, because people can do fact-checking to see if such religious claims are true or not. Christianity demands you have faith. But if a single word of the Bible were verifiable and true, then no faith would be needed, and the Bible would be a simple factual document. But know this, the Bible would not stand up in a court of law based on evidence, because there isn't any. Faith is the same technique and lie used by car salesmen who want you to have faith. They are not selling you a lemon. However, Christians continue to lie and lie and lie some more, and its success is due to its demand to never be questioned, and hypnosis techniques of listening passively, closing one's eyes, and suspending disbelief by not being allowed to question its sources and proof of its claims. It's part and parcel of how Christians are brainwashed to lie and defend their myths, even when exposed for what they are. The conclusion is that Christians are immoral, untrustworthy, and vile hypocrites who have been trained to lie and believe that lying is okay in defense of their imaginary gods. And Jesus, no, it isn't. Christianity was invented in the past, and it remains true today to control people and make people behave, and is based on fear. Black people and other minorities were given a double dose of Christianity to keep them from rebelling against oppressive governments. Christians demand to be a special entitled class, whereby others, such as gay people, and in times past black people, did not have the same individual rights as did Christians to marry, etc., under American law. This too is thankfully ending. The very idea that Jesus is coming back and it's the end times, the tribulation or the rapture is near, has been predicted over and over again, but fails to appear or happen, and shows the complete and total delusional mindset of Christians. In the Bible, it states that Jesus said he was coming back that generation before it died out. And it's been 44 generations since that prophecy and prediction. The reason for these fear tactics is to keep Christians hypnotized and in a state of fear, to keep that money flowing into the churches. And such repeated fear tactics have been successful for the past 1700 years. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same failed action over and over again and expecting a successful result to occur. Christianity is a study in an institutionalized, conditioned, and a systemic and sustained mental illness by those who all claim to speak for God. How exactly do such people know the mind of a God, who then all contradict each other? No one ever asks. When someone tells me they are a Christian, I know I am dealing with a brainwashed liar, and I back away slowly and do not give them any information or cooperate in their shameful con games, which are all dedicated, like the vampires they are, to gain more converts to feed the Christian money machine. Most Christians are just dupes and do not realize that Christianity, from the day it was invented, was all about money. First, saving the Roman Flavians from having to spend a lot of money on bodyguards, mercenaries, and soldiers in the Jews' ongoing rebellion against Rome, and later, to feed the church's massive and now very rich organizations, which have continued to exert control over human beings as well as governments. The most scariest part of Christianity is its psychopathology, in which Christians never apologize or feel badly because their imaginary God murdered an entire planet by drowning in the flood, for which there is no proof of a worldwide flood, in parentheses, and see nothing wrong with God approving of incest, rape, torture, slavery, mass murder, racial genocide of the Canaanites, etc., or being commanded to kill one's own child to prove how much they loved God. This is insane criminal thinking for which Christians never disapprove. If Christians see nothing wrong with such psychopathology in the Bible, what are they capable of in the future if they come to power and control the American government? Thankfully, the functional atheists, founders of the United States, removed all religious laws from the American court system. No longer would any human be imprisoned or punished for being a heretic, infidel, atheist, non or different believer. However, if one has kept up with the news, Christianity is once again attempting to create a Christian police state and exert its influence to remove all rights of women to have control over their own bodies and reproduction by outlawing abortion and birth control. See Rick Santorum's YouTube.com videos. And once again, B, put prayer in public schools, forcing your children to be subjected to Christian myths, lies, and hypocrisy. And C, remove all fact and data-based research and science regarding evolution and teach the Bible's mythical version and creationism. And D, once again remove the individual rights of the LGBT community, outlaw gay marriage, and possibly make it a criminal act to become transgendered or declare oneself as gay. In near past, Christianity has murdered 35 to 100 million people because they were different or non-believers in Christianity. Christianity was built on blood, murder, and the use of blackmail, extortion, and threats of eternal hell if one did not believe and submit to Christian lies and myths. A Christian liar cannot change its spots because all of the Bible verses that say to kill all non or different believers are still in the Bible. Not a single Christian has come forth to state that the Bible is nothing but myths and God's commandments are in reality mass murder and written by ignorant, crazy people. And to live biblically, as recommended by preachers who are the masters of scam and lies, is to commit hideous crimes against human beings if they don't believe. If Christians come to power and totally dominate the entire law-making system of the U.S., including the U.S. Supreme Court, what would prevent Christians from dragging out all those 1,000 Bible verses that say to kill us heretics and infidels? Much worse are the laws the Christianized GOP is proposing, which is to allow Christian-owned businesses to hire and fire people based on their religious status. Already the Roman Catholic Sisters of the Poor won, then lost, their demand to deny women the right to buy insurance with their own money that covered birth control and abortion. If Christians are successful in dominating the entire U.S. commerce by imposing Christianity as a litmus test for employment, the U.S. will turn into a Christian fascist state. This is exactly what the leaders in the Christian community and the Christianized GOP have planned for us if they win in 2013. And it's outrageous that Christians are allowed to promote these biblical frauds and forgeries tax-free and make billions, if not trillions of dollars in profit each year without paying a dime in taxes. Churches need to be taxed like any other business selling a product. The Christianized Republican Party has now taken over the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate and is quietly, if not covertly, intent on passing laws to turn the U.S. back to Jesus. As if Jesus owned and controlled the United States and its citizens in the first place. There is only one person in the GOP ticket who is not a crazed evangelical, who is Donald Trump, who is about business and making the U.S. a successful and well-defended country once again, and who does not have a religious agenda. I have to include a side note here, personal side note. I despise Donald Trump, and I would never vote for him if hell froze over. Anyway, back to what she's saying. There is no evidence that Donald Trump gives a flying pig what your religion is, and the fact that Trump has the highest approval rating of 24%, that's scary, shows conclusively that most Americans, if not Republicans, do not want a Christian agenda, and its desire for a religion-dominated police state. Note, nor do I want a Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders socialist agenda, in that socialism is just as unproven and just as much a religious belief taken on faith that it works as Christianity. What is needed is reality, to solve real-world problems with real-world solutions, and not religious or utopian political dreams and delusions. If you are an atheist, know that if any Christianized Republican becomes elected President of the United States, your rights as an individual will be smashed in favor of the church's agenda, which is to overthrow and eliminate all individual rights as human beings to be free of religious domination. I now urge you to personally, in every way possible, let everyone who is running for office know that you are not willingly going to stand by and let Christianity destroy our freedoms and take us citizens back to the 12th century AD, back to the horrors committed by the church. The elections in 2016 are probably the most important game-changing elections of our time. Now that you know what is at stake, do something. Yes, well, I don't know about all the political stuff, but I don't like Donald Trump. I'm actually thinking I might vote for Bernie, just because, but I don't know yet. I just know I'm not going to vote for a Republican. I never, ever, ever will vote for a Republican, because when I see a Republican, I don't care if they're Christianized or not, I see a threat to women's rights and human rights. So I wrote her and said, wow, you have a lot to say, Judy. You know, you should make your own videos, is what I said to her. And so her comment back to me reads, and this is another long comment, so, okay. Thank you so much. I look a lot like the avatar I use, but for security reasons, I don't tell who I am or where I live. When I first started out debating Christians, I was very open. I stated where I worked and what my name was. To my horror and surprise, 2 Christians, the slimy dogs, traced me to where I worked, called my supervisor, and tried to get me fired. They really caused me some problems. Ergo, I've since learned, as have all the Ashley Madison adulterers, LOL, to not ever give out any personal information on the net, especially if you verbally stab the Christians right in the heart of their myths, lies, and disgusting scare tactics and attempts at extortion and threats of hell. Over the years, I've looked into the personal psychology of Christians, and they really have some serious personality issues. One of which is not being tolerant of those who might rip the mask off their myths. Apparently, ripping the mask off of the Christian facade leaves them vulnerable and unable to defend themselves, including having zero defense against reality and proof of their lies. They lie to us, and worse, they lie to themselves. Lying is often a self-defense mechanism for those who cannot face their own weaknesses. When you rip the mask off and it sinks in, it means the Christian believer who has structured their entire world around a non-existent Jesus then has to restructure and flesh out their entire personality. And for an adult who has maybe believed in God or Jesus for the past X number of years, this causes a serious break in their psyche. Side note, maybe that was part of my problem with severe depression. Had a serious break in my psyche. Anyway, she continues, so they hate my guts. So be it. What makes Christianity and all such beliefs, including Islam, dangerous is the trance state and hypnotic methods they use to cause a belief in an imaginary God to be resident deep into their memory. Praying by closing one's eyes, suspending any questions of disbelief, and asking no questions or doing any research if such gods are real or not, sets the individual for total belief. God and Jesus also represent the perfect Father they never had, the Father who loved them and will give them everything they ever wanted, if they just believe hard enough. Christianity and how it brainwashes people is diabolically and really evil. Almost every 2 to 3 days I get some threats from Christians. I usually just block them, deflect them, etc., and don't debate many Christians unless they sound halfway rational. It's also bizarre that such Christians have to defend an all-powerful God who should by definition be able to defend itself. Christians defending such an all-powerful God is bizarre. But I realized in analysis that they are also defending something they created in their own minds, as an alter ego of what they too would like to be. Ergo, when I've taken a mental hatchet and cleaved them in two, or so they feel, Christians react as if I have damaged them in some way, and maybe I have. Why? Because no matter if they hate my guts and reject everything I or anyone writes or presents in this forum, it does absolutely go into their minds, into their memory, and will sit there like an undigested rock, working on their subconscious mind and change it. They cannot escape what they have read, even if it's negative, because their subconscious minds are always processing and digging for reality and trying to reach a homeostatic state of balance. By upsetting that balance, which sometimes I do by cursing the crap out of them, which to other nice atheists makes them feel as if I'm off my nut, I know what I am doing. Cursing is like throwing cold water in their face or slapping them with a wet mop. It's a horrible feeling to have the mask of myth removed. I've been there and also know how it feels. I was a Christian for most of my life. I wanted to know more about Jesus and proof of God. I searched for 10 long years in every corner of any kind of available information, from correct translations of the Bible, other religions, psychics, and cosmology, and even deep prayer. I found no proof of God. It was a horrible feeling. I found I had been hypnotized and have been lying to myself for years and years. I felt like a damn fool. So one day I closed my last book, took my head in my hands, and sat there, and the thought entered my mind. You are an atheist. There is no God, no divine thingies, no elves, fairies, demons, witches, no angels, no ghosts, no hates, I have no idea what that is, etc. This is a solidly physical world in which energy in all its forms is the only reality. I also felt as if a personal, powerful entity, God, had left me and I was all alone. I wanted to believe in God and Jesus, as it was comforting, but simply could not because I am a trained PhD researcher whose personal codes of morals and ethics absolutely demands that I do not lie or fudge my data. I just can't do it. I remained sad and empty for about 2 weeks. One day I woke up and realized I am the very same person I was when I believed in imaginary gods. Nothing has changed. My dogs still love me. Lightning did not hit my house. I didn't get sick. And a godlike voice sounding like Charlton Heston did not come into my head and say, I'm sending you to hell for being an apostate or rejecting God. It just has not happened. So I remain an atheist. As I went about my life and work, I began to notice what religious belief does to people. It removes them from themselves, from reality, and from being able to solve real problems using real solutions. The abuse of kids by religion really bothers me. In time, I've become extremely militant and hostile to religion, and have no apologies for doing so. And to my great happiness, atheism is growing with the recognition that if this earth and its people are to be saved, we have to get on the same page. This page has to be based on a science-based reality. Who becomes our mother, and begin to construct a real world, not the world of myths, lies, and false claims by both religion and politics we are fed each day. All such lies by the media, the right, the left, and religions is meant to control us. Well, to hell with that. The most interesting of my research goes back to the functional atheists, founders of the U.S., who removed all religious laws. The result was a noisy, very diverse, argumentative society who, after much speech, has miraculously made the greatest country to have ever existed, with outsiders left scratching their heads as how we did it. Atheism rules. Atheism says there are no gods up there, in me or you, pulling our strings like puppets in which we must obey. If we obey those gods pulling our strings, there is no creativity, no wonderful individuality, and no exploding genius producing such world-changing devices as computers in their garage, or getting kids in a classroom to write computer code for a new group of antibiotics. Poor Christians and sad Muslims, the genie is out of the bottle. The bottle is broken, and the religious will never be able to impose their genies on us ever again, no matter who they elect or how many cable TV networks they take over. Atheism rules. Overall, Christians are very sick puppies. Why else would they believe in an imaginary God for which they have zero proof, and demand that we all believe in their imaginary God, and then go flat, barking mad dog nuts when they cannot trick or threaten you into believing in their God, because they said so. So now you know a little about me. Unless a book deal or a movie script comes along, I'm not going to expose myself to be at risk by the silly Christians until I can afford bodyguards and layers of computer security. I really suggest that when verbally slamming Christians and Muslims against the wall, that no one use their real names or expose themselves as to who they really are. It's not really important, is it? What we say is what's important, not our names, where we work, or where we live. When they ask if I am a male or a female or lesbian or transgender, I don't answer those questions either. Fuck 'em. So there you go. That's Judy's comments, and she had a lot to say. Very, very strong personality, and she speaks her mind very well and very eloquently. Again, there's some things in here I don't completely agree with, but I really agree with a lot of it too. I'm just trying to think what else she said about. She's talking about Christian employers. That brought to mind Providence, who is probably the most. Anyway, they don't strike me as a company that has very good ethics at all, if any ethics. Yep, and I'm not so sure I think that we're going to become a Christian police state in the near future either, but I do think that the religious right is trying very hard to make this a Christian nation, which it never has been, and hopefully it never will be. So I will vote as well as I can and make sure that person that I vote for isn't a Republican, and certainly not Donald Trump. So anyway, just wanted to share her very interesting comments. If you've been watching, thank you. Bye.